Welcome back to Hell with the Podcast, episode 10. We've made it 10 episodes in. We've talked about mostly Stryper. We did take a dive into Eddie Van Halen for a week, but today we're going to take a little bit of a break, but I'm going to get into that in just a moment. First, I want to say hello to my co-host, Daryl. Good morning, Daryl.
Good morning, sir. Starting to be one of my favorite time periods of the day. It's like, all right, I get to wake up and have a cup of coffee and talk about music. That's the bubble I would love to live in. So yeah, I'm stoked.
I know that's the thing when I'm doing the research, and I am doing it off work hours. You can ask my wife. I'm doing it during. It's like this does not feel like work because it's so much fun digging in to going back and listening to some things that I may not have listened to in a while, being diligent about it. And then how many times do you listen to an album and then you listen to the same album again and then you listen to it again to try to get that? What am I going to say? How is this affecting me? Where was I back in this time period? Or what's it speaking to me now? How am I looking at it differently now than I did then? So pulling all together the research notes, this is fun. I can't tell you how much fun it is.
No, dude, I totally get it. Because I mean, again, we've said it a million times. You're listening to it with a different ear. So it's like, I have to listen to this tomorrow or whatever. So it's, you're totally listening to it differently, not as a fan, but as somebody who has to kind of talk about the music. And that's like as much fun as talking about it as a fan. So yeah, I've been in a hole for a couple days with some extenuating circumstances, but I've had more time to listen to some of this stuff, and I'm just like, holy crap! Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic when you're not listening to it as just in your car with the windows open. You're listening to it with a different ear. So
yeah, you definitely are, and I know you've been in a hole the past couple of days, and the thing to remember, the thing to keep in mind is at least ones that I know of. You've got 3 concerts at least to look forward to, especially the one in January. The one in January is going to be so much fun.
So I think I have, if we're going to talk about this, think I have 5 shows in the hole right now.
And okay, I know 3 of them.
Yes, we're going to be at one of them. We have also Alter Bridge, and when we synced up on yesterday, we're going to see Rush.
Yes. The 50-something tour.
Yeah. I'm really, yes, I'm in a hole right now because just of personal crap, but I'm really excited to go see this show. I know it's like 13 months away.
Next November. Because it was funny when I was looking at the date, and then I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and I sent them my Calendly link to schedule a meeting with me. And then when I saw the date come back in, I was like, oh, I can't do a meeting that day. I forgot to block off my calendar. And then I went, yeah, that's next month. The concert's a year and a month away.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm when we were talking about it yesterday, and I hung up the phone, and I was like, man, this is gonna be so freaking cool. Because I don't know. Rush is one of those bands that they've always been right there. And or as a drummer, it's like freaking Neil Peart's a freaking icon. But I'm really excited.
Neil Peart.
Yeah, Neil Peart. But I'm really excited to see this lady that they have, because she seems like it almost seems like it's gonna be easy for her to play these songs. And I'm like, the fact that I think that, I'm just like, whoo, that my opinion of her as a player is, the bar is really high, obviously, because she's trying to replace a legend. But yeah, the more I look at some of her clips on YouTube and all that kind of stuff, I think this is not gonna. There's a reason that Rush put her in that position, because I've
got to go look her up. I haven't seen her.
She plays so fluidly. That's what I'm saying. I don't think these Rush songs are going to be hard for her to play, which is saying a ton. So
what was amazing was when we were looking at it, how quickly those tickets were going.
Well, and how much freaking.
Well, we'll talk about that later. But no, I've never seen them, so I'm actually looking forward to it because
No,
I
I
mean,
am.
I loved them back in the day, and I still do. I still listen to them. Some of my favorite, some of my favorite stuff from it is their early stuff. I will tell you, if you're a Rush fan, I'm sorry. If I never heard the song Tom Sawyer again, I wouldn't mind because it's like, how many times can you hear that song? You know, you turn on the radio, you turn on, if you live in Atlanta, you turn on the river. It's
Classic.
like, come on, how many other songs do they have? But we always go back to Tom Sawyer. It's just like, I won't mind seeing it live, but it's just like, they have such a huge catalog, but let's focus on the one song. Let's play this 10 times for every one other hit that they had.
Yeah, but let's not get it twisted. That's freaking radio.
Well, I know,
Hey,
I
we're
know.
gonna play a Rush song. Yeah, it's gonna be Tom Sawyer or Limelight. There's only a couple. But as drummers, it's like, hey, can you play Tom Sawyer? That's kind of like it's a bar, right? So so it's
Yeah.
like, hey, if you're a Rush fan, can you play Tom if you are professing to be a drummer, can you play Tom Sawyer? Yes, I can. So it's a, what do you call it? A rite of passage kind of thing.
And who else are you going to see? I know you're going to see Mammoth and Miles Kennedy in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Miles Kennedy's getting some workout on my MasterCard. I'm doing Mammoth and Miles Kennedy together, and then we're both doing Barry Manilow with our
We're
mothers.
going together and we're going to wear our jackets with the like Liberace did, and we will stand out in the crowd together singing Copacabana. No,
Dude, I'm
it's fun.
seriously think
We're not going together, but we're going to be there together.
well, we'll be like, we're not far away from each other, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really like just low key thinking about a wardrobe change for Barry Manilow, maybe some blue, maybe some like just high blue sport jacket or some, I mean something, but yeah, and
Well, you have to say, we're taking our moms.
of course we're taking our moms. I mean,
We're
my
taking our
mom's
moms to
80.
that
How
concert.
old's your mom?
76.
Yeah, so my mom's. I had to make a phone call. It's like, hey, you think you can make Barry Manilow?
We
She's like,
I did the
yeah.
same thing.
So
I
it's
thought it was
gonna be.
funny.
I mean, it's gonna be super fun. My mom and I saw him before COVID, and it was a blast. And I'm just like, I grew up with that music in the house. It was the Eagles, Neil Diamond, and Barry Manilow. So it would be silly for me not to buy tickets to that for my mom because that's one of her favorite artists of all time. But yeah, I would say we're doing Mammoth and Miles Kennedy, Barry Manilow, Alter Bridge, but that's not till I think it's like March next year or something. So we've got a lot of stuff booked out. So it's about that time of year where you start having 4 or 5 things in the chamber. So I'm loving
For
it.
next year.
Yeah, I love it.
And I'm sure there will be, I know we've talked about a couple of other things that are hitting
God,
the road
and
next year.
Iron Maiden, Anthrax, and Megadeth announced the tour today, and I'm just like, are you kidding me?
I can tell you this, I will miss that one. I will
Dude,
miss that one.
man, well, to your dismay, sir, because holy crap, I can't even. Anthrax is always a amazing show, and Megadeth is hit or miss sometimes, but and Iron Maiden is just always all right.
And I think
It's like a freaking theater show. It's ridiculous, but
when we go to a show, either one of us, whether we go and we're in it together or we go separately, that it would be kind of cool to just come back and just do a quick recap of our thoughts on the show and talk about it and have some fun with it while we're
oh,
doing this
absolutely.
before we jumped in.
I know the Mammoth and Miles Kennedy show is going to be interesting because Wolfie is a really insanely great performer, and I've literally called out requests from the audience to Miles Kennedy, and he will play the song that I ask him to play, and that dude is as real as it gets. So it's I don't know. It's gonna be funky because Wolfie's just it's hard to say I'm proud because it's not like I'm related to the dude, but to see him evolve as
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen's kid, he could have really gone down a different spot and just kind of been a has-been's a bad word, but I'm really like interested to see where he's going next because he's not trying to be his dad.
Right.
So
Right.
anyway,
Yeah. And he is good. But yeah, we both have some shows coming up that I know we're looking forward to. But I think we should move on to
yeah.
talk about the topics of today.
We talk too much, but anyway.
That's all right. So people are always saying, "Are you going to talk more than Stryper?" So yes, we will, but we will mainly be talking about Stryper on our Michael Suite on these podcasts. So, but first, a couple of things coming from the news desk this week for Stryper. One of the things is I know we've already reviewed. Let me share my screen. Where's the share button? Feel like I'm at work. Where's this? Where's the share button? Where do I have the right screen up? Yes, you do. So let's see. Yes, this is the one I want to share first. I know we already did a countdown on this album, but if you were not aware, yesterday, Friday, October 24th, because we release these on Tuesday. So by the time we release this, it'll be not yesterday, but October 24th, 1986 celebrated 39 years since To Hell with the Devil. And you and I, we already did our track countdown from To Hell with the Devil, episode 4, episode 5. So if you want to go back and listen to that episode, we dive into that album. And whatever happened to that bid? Did you end up the bid you were trying to get this album
No,
cover on?
no, I got outbid at the last minute. It ended up going for 125, I think. I tapped out at 110 and I just missed the deadline. Yeah, didn't get it. So I got the
But
shirt.
39 years. Yeah, you got the shirt. You wore that one day, but yeah, 39 years. That's just, I don't feel that old. I don't feel that old.
Yeah, I don't feel that old either. I mean, all right, cool. Data's data, but yeah, I definitely don't feel like that came out 39 years ago. I think the Soldier's date hits harder than this one, but what, 20 I was 39 years ago. I'm not even trying to do the math.
So this isn't really news, but I just thought it was kind of funny that he did this because he did this a couple of times, utilizing new technology that is out there today. But just in case you did not know, it is a fact that Michael Sweet listened to Donny Osmond when he was a kid. And the reason I'm posting this is because in 1989, when Soldier of Love came out by Donny Osmond, I was listening to Donny Osmond as a teenager. So there you go. So another thing Michael Sweet musically and I have in common, we both at some point in our life were listening to Donny.
Oh, God, things that don't surprise me for 200, Alex. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
I'm going to go on a little rabbit trail here. But do you know the history behind the song Soldier of Love by Donny Osmond?
No.
Okay. Okay. When they were releasing that song to the radio stations to play, I guess it was the record label or whatever, they just sent the song out. They didn't say who the artist was. They didn't say anything about it. They just wanted the people to hear the quality of that song. And so the stations, it just took off. It started playing. And I think it was a few weeks after it started really charting, or I shouldn't say charting, but that it started taking off, that they finally came out and said, this is Donny Osmond. Because what they were afraid of is if they've sent it out, hey, here's Soldier of Love by Donny Osmond, that nobody would have played it. They just would have killed it because it said Donny Osmond. And then that ended up being a huge album for him. He had another single off of that album, but it was really interesting the way they played that to get radio stations to do it. Like, here's a new song. We're not going to tell you the artist. And the stations loved the song. And then it's like, well, we can't stop playing it now because we found out it's Donny Osmond because the people love the song.
Wow, that's some like Pat Boone crap. I like. Yeah, because
See, another thing that's in my memory banks that I'm like, I have all this information and I have nothing to do with it. So that's why I'm glad we're doing this podcast because I can at least talk about this stuff.
dude, yeah, yes, absolutely. What are the outlet would we have to talk about freaking Donny Osmond?
I know.
I mean,
So
but they did have a primetime TV show for a minute. They were famous for a minute.
that they were. Couple more things coming from the Stryper news desk this week. We shared this a couple of weeks ago, but if you are, let me pull the right one up. Yeah. If you are out in Vegas, don't forget Friday, November 7th at 8 p.m. Backstage Bar and Billiards. It's that acoustic set by Michael Sweet. If you haven't seen it, it is a really good gig. It's a very intimate gig with him. If you can get them, if they're offering meet and greets here, if they're still available, get the meet and greet because that was pretty cool too. Very intimate show. The cool thing about the one we went to, I didn't mention this on the, I don't believe we talked about this, was that because of where it was in South Carolina, Perry made the drive over. I think he lives in Myrtle Beach. He made the drive over. So not only did we get the opportunity to meet Michael Sweet or meet him again, we were able to, I was able to get a couple of photos taken with Perry Richardson. So that was kind of cool. It was kind of like meet and greet with Michael Sweet, but Perry Richardson showed up.
And
But
that backstage, I've been there once. But yeah, if you, it's a pool hall, but it does have like a separate venue to, for music and stuff. But I've only been there one time. Dang, I think who did we see there? I think it was either Smashing Pumpkins or Live, and I can't remember which. Anyway, it's a really nice venue for something like that. So if you're around, definitely do that.
yeah, you're out there. And who knows? In Vegas, I know Oz lives out there. I think Robert lives there as well. So who knows? They might show up to the show as well.
Yeah, there's a ton of metal guys that live in Vegas now. If you listen to Eddie Trunk or anybody like that, he's always out there, doing interviews and whatnot. And so I think he has a separate studio out there at this point. But yeah, there's a ton of metal guys in Vegas at this point. So I'm sure it's cheaper than living in LA.
Oh, I know. I can imagine. And now, the last thing for the news desk, this was pretty exciting. He posted this yesterday. We had already talked about this on a previous episode because we knew that it was coming, but he is now working on the new Stryper album. He said he's been for the past few days writing, and writing. And we've had this conversation before where he talks about and I agree with him. That's and we always talk about this. He's always looking to excel, to take it a step higher, to take it a step higher and put out the best album that they can with some of the best songs. And he kind of gets into that here really quick. He goes, I understand the love for the classics, and I totally get that as a fan of many bands myself, but it's difficult for me to think that anything from To Hell with the Devil is better than songs like Yahweh, God, The Ballet, Sorry, Unforgivable. When I hear those new songs, I get much more excited about the newer material than the old classic songs. And then he says, obviously, he's in the minority, but regardless, we'll keep trying to make our best album and outdo ourselves. And this album so far may very well be just that. And if the way that it goes, I could see them going into the studio. I think, if I recall correctly, that they planned on having the album wrapped by the time the trip to Greece happens. And so I would anticipate probably a fall time release date. I haven't heard anything about that, but a fall time release date. And so pretty exciting. I mean, going back into so many bands are not doing that, but Michael Sweet just continues to go and move forward with the new stuff.
Well, as we're talking about our topic today, I was in the weeds with a lot of this stuff, and I'm just like, I know the bar that Stryper sets, but then I was listening to just Mike's solo stuff, and I'm like, it's the same thing, dude. The bar keeps getting raised, and I can't I can't not respect somebody who doesn't want to get better, and that's what I feel like this dude is always trying to do. It's like I'm I'm listening to the first solo record. Sorry, we'll skip that one. It's fine. But everything past that and everything that we talk about with Stryper, it's like the bar is always being raised. So there's there's never a spot where it's like, all right, cool. Your first solo record, all right, cool. It's not great, but then everything past that is just like you you're working with different producers, the list of musicians as I got into the weeds on some of this stuff, I'm just like, whew, all right, he's working with some of the best in the business. So, and again, he's trying to raise the bar on it, and it doesn't feel like an ego thing. It feels like I just want to make quality stuff, and so yeah, I I really, like I say, I really get into the weeds. It's definitely not Stryper, but it's definitely Mike trying to make the best stuff that he can make.
And that's going to be what our topic is today is we're not focusing on something specifically from Stryper. We're focusing on the beginnings in a sense of his solo career and stepping into doing music solely because with what one of the things that he said was that when in reading his book honestly, that when he left Stryper, he wasn't looking to go do a solo album. He didn't leave Stryper to go do a solo album. If I recall correctly, he kind of left, took a break, but the music was still in him. But he was using that time as a time for marking, reflecting, getting because we if you've read honestly, if you've know the history of Stryper at all, kind of the turmoil that they were in with against the law. And so he stepped out and was like, I need some time to get stronger with my family, reflect, get more deep with my relationship with God. And I think, and I know you're not a fan of the first album, but lyrically, I remember the first time I heard this album, and when he originally released it, he
Mhm.
released it as a self-titled album, just Michael Sweet. But it was a
Right.
few years ago he plugged it with 1994. So if you look this up, if you look this particular album up on Spotify, it will say 1994. So that's what he kind of renamed it because it came out, I believe, in April of 1994. And I kind of go back and I look to where I was in 1994, and I look at where the music scene was in 1994 and what was happening. I was once grunge hit, I'll admit, I was not a fan of grunge. I did not like grunge. I thought the music, not the music, I thought, because I always listen to the lyrics too. I thought the lyrics were depressing. It was like, life sucks, my family sucks, everything, I have no future. And I just feel like some of the grunge just took this deep, dark turn. I just didn't like it. And I was like, where is my rock? Where are my guitars now? And so I was sitting there in 92, 93, really starting to see the change in the music thing. And then if you listen to some of the adult oriented stuff, this is the crazy stuff I do, Daryl. I'll tell you. I have a playlist.
Can't wait for this.
I have a playlist on Spotify that is titled 80s and 90s. And what I did to get those songs was I went back and I looked at the top 100 from each year. And I started to see about the 91, 92, 93 time frame how a lot of the stuff like Journey, that type of vibe of a band stopped charting. It's not that they stopped making music, it stopped charting. And then all of a sudden, more hip hop and stuff coming. And I've just never, I'm not criticizing it. I've just never been a fan of hip hop. So I'm just like, all of a sudden, I just felt like musically, I was just completely left behind because what was being played on the radio, both from a rock standpoint and a adult type stuff, it just vanished overnight. And here I was like, what am I going to listen to?
Well, you start listening to the freaking radio first of all, but yeah, that's a weird part of time because I mean we're passing through, and I hate using the term hair metal, but that's what it was. And then some of Mike's records came out in the early '90s, and it's like it. I'm sitting here thinking about because I'm thinking about so if you look at so here's a good example. If you look at Spotify, one of his most streamed songs is "Save Me," and
That's off
so
of Truth, and that is an incredible song.
no, it's a great song, but who it sounds like? Freaking Alice in Chains. I pulled it up and I had listened to it a couple times today, but I pulled it up and played it for the wife, and she's like, "Yeah, this is a direct rip off of Alice in Chains." And I'm like, I can't disagree with what you're saying, but it's like there's a lot of his stuff. I mean, once I get past the first record, I'm really good with a lot of Mike's solo stuff. I didn't go into the wormhole with Sweet and Lynch today, but I was basically just trying to concentrate on his solo stuff without collaboration. And once I got to Save Me, and I was like, "Holy crap, dude! This is like of the time." And basically the whole record was kind of the time. It's like, yeah, it's in the grunge period, and it kind of was sounds like it was written that way. If we're going forward, every record gets better. I'm Not Your Suicide is freaking Kenny Aronoff on the drums and Chris Jericho and Doug Aldridge, and I'm just like, holy, we got like stellar musicians playing on some of this stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting to me. And I like I say, I didn't go into the Sweet Lynch lane yet, but I was just kind of going forward with just the solo stuff. He Once he got past the first record, he managed to get better production, better musicians, and that kind of stuff. So it's just I'm not sure why that happens. Is just like, all right, you're in Stryper, so maybe we can pull some people aside, but I don't know. I don't have that research, but I listened to every single solo record aside from the Sweet and Lynch stuff, but every record got better, which is
So I will say this: Daryl and I have a very different opinion on the first album, which is okay. And if you've been listening to the first 9 episodes, it probably doesn't surprise anybody that we would have a different opinion on this because a couple of things where Michael Sweet was, according to his book, honestly, when he was at this point, his mindset at the time was, he was getting the vibe, or he was getting that urge, like, hey, but I want to do it just purely for the joy and the fun of it, and not necessarily for charts or commercial success. And his emphasis that he also went on to say was that he wanted to honor God with his gifts, giving the process just basically back to him. So you take where we were in 1994, in 1990 with Against the Law. Then in 1993 is when he starts writing this. Well, he did Unstriped, which was like a demo kind of thing that he didn't release till later. That he did that first. It had like 5 songs on it. And one of the musicians, if I recall correctly, if you are big into the Christian music scene at the time, was Tony Palacios, I think is how you say his last name.
yeah.
Great guitarist for Guardian throughout the Guardian days. And if you go back and you take a look at the very, very first Guardian album,
Yeah,
Oz Fox actually helped produce that album, I believe, but he used them then. And so then in 1993, he starts he co-produced this and wrote some songs with a gentleman by the name of Greg Fulkerson of Blue Tears. I'm not familiar with the band Blue Tears. I may know their songs. I just don't know the band. But he started working with them in 93. And then this album came out in 94. So here I am. I'm kind of lost in this period of I'm not really liking anything new that I'm hearing. And so when this album came out, for me, it brought back some of the music that I felt like that I was missing at the time, because it was definitely a more toned down, melodic, album oriented rock with a few ballads on it. It even almost had, with some of the songs, it had a 70s vibe on a couple of songs. It had an 80s vibe with a couple of songs. And now if you go back and you look at his influences, one of the things is if you know those posts that you see on Facebook all the time, meat or fish, meat. Michael Sweet will do those from time to time, and he'll even say that he's even admitted that he's a Bee Gees fan. And there I go. I
who's
love the
that?
Bee Gees. But you go back, and so here for me, I'm sitting there going, I want some new music. So here, my favorite band from the 80s is disbanded. They tried to do a 3-piece. They brought in a new lead singer, Dale Thompson. It didn't quite work. Oz then became the lead singer for a while. They just disbanded. It just didn't work.
They should have broken up
And
at that point.
so it just didn't work. And so, but when Michael Sweet comes out with this, and then you could see that he was writing from lyrically from some of the things that he had gone through during that time. And this is my opinion. That's just my take on it. Like the song, he's got "Take Me Home" on there, "Tomorrow Tonight," and my wife my wife and I, we were in the car last night and we were listening to this album. And this is the other thing too that always, and Tomorrow Tonight I felt like was like, hey, to his wife at the time, like, hey, I messed up. I wasn't focusing on God. Can we dream about tomorrow tonight? I'm sorry for all, the pain that I did to you. So you can hear he's kind of writing this album, but you see that when it comes to the faith based, it is a completely 180 turn from how he wrote lyrics on Against the Law. And then it was also in the vibe of more of a rock type feel, like the Bon Jovi, because maybe there's one, but there may be one heavy song on it, but it wouldn't even be heavy to the extent of More Than a Man, The Writings on the Wall. It would be more like just a rock song. So here I am. I hear this album and it just vibing with me because it's like, this is all the kind of stuff that I listen to. This is all the kind of stuff I grew up on. And I also think this was the beginning of This Is Me solo, because you hear a Michael Sweet album today, it doesn't sound like Stryper, whether it's Sweet and Lynch, whether it's his solo stuff, whether it's with the Soul Driver. So it doesn't sound, so this is kind of like, okay. And I think even with that first album, he opened up the doors to people who probably didn't like Stryper, because my wife, she was never a big Stryper fan, but she loves the 1994 album because it came out when we were engaged. So I was listening to it all the time. So she loved it. When are you going to hear a Stryper song have a saxophone in it? This had saxophone, piano, keyboards, guitars, the bass. It was just a different album from what he had done. And I have to say, I loved it because, again, it took me on a journey. It wasn't all rock. It wasn't all ballads. I know I'm going on about this, but that's just me with this album. I love the album. I still love listening to it today. My wife, we were listening to it last night. She's like, oh, I love that song. I remember that song. And so that's just and it produced 5 number one singles on the Christian chart. So I know it's not your vibe. I know it doesn't speak to you, but to me, it was like, this is so cool. He's back with his faith. He's writing songs that, were in the vein of lyrically, we're back into a more faith-based versus relationships or, stuff like that. So I was excited about this album when it came out.
Well, when I was doing the homework for today, I was like, "Oh my god, I totally forgot about the freaking saxophone." I was like, "Oh, is that the dude from the Lost Boys?" I don't know, maybe. But yeah, there were songs on there that I had just absolutely forgotten about. But that being said, the last couple days have been a cool journey because I've literally listened to all of Mike's solo stuff, and God bless that dude, man. Everything is better than the last, and I feel like he would be pissed off if that weren't the opinion of the fan. It sounds like weak Bon Jovi, but yeah, I mean
But
everything.
the second album you may have missed, though, because the second album isn't on Spotify.
Exactly. Yes,
And
you would be correct.
And if you want a totally different sounding record than even the self-titled debut, now known as 1994, Real was more of a stripped down acoustic type album that it produced a number one hit, at least maybe 3. I'd have to go back and look. But it did produce another number one on the charts. There was another video because on the 1994 album, he had 3 videos that he did for that. And this was the great thing, because he went from Enigma, I
Enigma.
can't, thank you. As Stryper, and then they were on Hollywood Records or something like that for their greatest hits release that they did in 91,
Yep.
a specifically Christian label for this album. And he was with Benson for 2 albums. He was with Benson for this one and for Real. And then Benson, after that, shut its doors.
Right.
And he was like, okay, is my music journey done? And then I love how he writes about it in the book. Then the internet. And website michaelsweet.com is built by a couple of people. And then he starts to realize I can self produce. And he dropped Truth, the original, on the internet and sold like 25,000 copies of it
Yeah.
just on the internet alone, bypassing the label. And then he got Truth on a label. And then that thing went into the market like a thud because it was released. And then that record label closed its doors. So he kind of jokes about it. He goes, hey, I've been signed 3 times and I helped them close their doors. So the 90s were kind of a different trip for him going through all that.
Well, if you think about the 90s, nobody's looking at, you know, and I hate the term, but nobody's looking at hair metal to try to make any money. It's the 90s were not the time
To be doing
to
that
try
genre.
to do any of that style of music. So, but I was and I was listening to some of this stuff, but when I was listening to Truth, I was like, wait, this is 2000. It's not 91. It's not 92. It's like, so some of the grungy stuff, which I like it a lot, but it's like 2000. It's like, maybe I don't know. I don't know. But that being said, the production was Truth. Listening to Truth as a record, production was definitely better. There was a couple of songs that I was like, yep, y'all got creative. We did some talk box. Wool and Chiffon was a great song, and of course Save Me's on that record too. So but yeah, I just kept thinking that every time he released a new record, it was better. And which I don't know why I would think anything else, because Mike is a freaking perfectionist.
Yeah. And if you're curious, this is the album CD cover for 1994. That's the back of it. Then, if you want to find it on eBay, this is real. I got his signature when we saw him at Abbeville.
Nice.
So that's real. And I do like that album. That album's good. Because again, I do like my acoustic stuff as well. And then I think I lost the jacket to Truth, but that's the CD signed by him. But even the song Lift My Head, I like that song off of that album. So
That's a
it was
good song.
so and the other thing that's kind of cool for me about the whole 1994 album is the fact that it's one that I can actually listen to with my wife, because she is, like I said, not a Stryper fan. She likes some songs by Stryper, but not. I'm not. I
She's
do
not
like
a
the
heavy
metal
metal.
songs. No, she's not. And so hearing that, it was more 1994 was more in her vibe. And like you said, every album has gotten better. But in my opinion, I loved 1990. I mean, I was engaged. My favorite singer was back. I was enjoying some new music that I felt like I hadn't enjoyed in a while. And I just felt like he was just kind of saying, like the second song on the album,
Yeah, we haven't even played any music.
Take Me Home. Yeah, I don't want to get pinged anymore. But here we go.
We got to figure that out.
Yeah, because this was the one that Lori was talking about last night, where she was sitting there saying that she felt like the guitar in it, kind of right as he gets into, right before he sings or right before he gets to the point of not singing, that it kind of has that little 70s vibe to it. And yeah, this part right here on the song. And if you're listening to on one platform and you don't hear it, I apologize. They keep telling me to take it down. But in this song, it's just like he's going through, this is where I was in 1990, 91, but take me home. Bring me back to you. And so you can hear his cry. Like he said, I'm giving all of this back to God. You can hear his cry, or his where he was, or where he says, I paid the price for this illusion. So it's take me home. I need your love. I need your love again. It's just, I just liked it. And like I said, I wasn't really enjoying new music at the time because it was just not sitting with me.
Well, that being said, I went down a huge Boston hole today because, like, I was, going through Mike's solo stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I used to be in Boston. I was like, wait a minute, I used to be in Boston. So I had to back up and watch some. I think the first Boston record is one of the best debut albums of all time, and then I get to like watch one of my favorite singers of all time sing some of my favorite songs of all time. And I got into that hole today, and I was just like, holy crap. Like, Mike is singing Boston songs, and it was just, I don't know. It was, I mean, just nobody's going to get that, really, aside from me and a few other people. So, but yeah, Michael Sweet singing Boston was pretty awesome. And
yeah, it was. Go check out one of the ones that seems to pop up most often, other than one of the solos that are not solos, but one of the songs he does with Boston when he was in Boston that seemed to pops up on YouTube more than others is the song Amanda.
Yeah, and that's not even the best one. Mine popped up and I was like, okay, cool. Long time. It's been such a long time. I mean,
yeah,
God, yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. And when you're watching that band, everybody is singing. The drummer's singing, the bass player's singing, everybody is freaking singing. And it's like, yeah, I guess that makes sense because you guys always have like 5-part freaking harmonies on every song. But yeah, it was super fun to watch because they had all, I don't know if they had all the original members, but Mike was like a added piece. But yeah, it was really fun watching that stuff because I freaking love Boston.
Yeah, Boston is good. Talk about a perfectionist, though. Tom Schultz. That's why it takes him 9 years to put out an album.
No, I know. It's exactly.
I mean, because you think how big Boston was, and how many albums did they put out from like 1977 through 1987? 3?
Yeah. No. Yes, absolutely. You are correct, sir. Yeah, they just had so much BS stuff going on. It's like, all right, so the first one is unassailable. The second one is really good, and then what's the name of it? It's the one that has Cool the Engines and Amanda. Is it Boston 3? I don't.
Yeah, that was the third album. Amanda was on their third album. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, no, I'm absolutely sure. I think the name of the record was Boston 3, but yeah, it was
Third
Cool
Stage.
the Engines and say again.
Third Stage.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, they had Amanda and Cool the Engine.
So I mean, this is just to talk a little bit about that real quick. The song Amanda, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on Amanda, but it says here, It was a power ballad by American rock band Boston, written by Tom Schultz. The song was released as the first single from the band's third album, Third Stage, in 1986, 6 years after it was recorded.
Yeah, now, yeah, that's a whole thing, dude. Yeah, they took a break for a long time, and when Third Stage came out, I was like, oh, Boston's coming back and doing something. And to me, that record was really strong. But yeah, it was like, dang, could y'all wait a little longer to put that out? So, but,
yeah, because when you think about it, and we've talked about how Michael Sweet always wants to raise the bar and put out the best material. He's always saying, I feel like we still have our best yet to come. He'll go and write albums, he'll write the songs like that, but then it becomes tracking it, getting this lyric, getting the singing down. But still, in the time frame that they do it, it is so amazing how polished it does sound when it comes out compared to waiting 6 years for a song to come.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, absolutely. And I spent my day today listening to just the Michael Sweet stuff, and I'm just like, man, I was sitting here going, this is a generational vocalist and guitar player, and I don't think people realize that because he's so good. And it's like, all right, cool, if you don't like hair metal, or he could sing the phone book and it would be just fine. But I don't know. I know it's a weird, it's a genre thing and whatever, but I guarantee I'm buying that Christmas record for everybody in my family and giving it to them.
Yes, don't forget that album is dropping November 21st.
So yeah, everybody in my family is getting a copy.
And I think next week, if I recall correctly, next Friday, Halloween, they're dropping a new song from that album.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you're correct, sir.
So they will be doing that. And so if you haven't gotten that, make sure to go ahead and go get it so you will have it in time for the season, because reason for the season is on that album.
You know what? I think I might just buy a copy of the CD and the sweater and just send it to all of my liberal friends so they can hate me more.
Oh, that would be funny.
You know what?
That would be funny. If you only knew the stories Daryl has told me.
I'm absolutely doing that.
And so, and talking about even with his first album, the comments going back to what you said, one of the things somebody said, style, the album features more of a pop rock sound, which was a change of pace from the metal style sound of Stryper. So it definitely, it definitely took a different turn musically. So I understand why it's not your favorite, why you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm glad, the other stuff is, out there and it got better, but it sold. He actually said that this particular album sold more than the two previous Stryper albums combined. And that would be, I guess it would be against the law in the greatest hits album, because this album sold 300,000 plus copies. And we know In God We Trust went gold. So I'm just assuming he's referencing Against the Law and Greatest Hits, excuse me.
Yeah, some of the numbers were weird. I was looking at some of that stuff earlier, and I'm just like, what? I don't know. I saw 325. I saw 425. I'm like, all right. I don't know what the official numbers were, but
Yeah, because 10 years ago when you wrote the book, he wrote 300,000 plus. That's so it's probably sold a lot. He re-released it as 1994, put out a special vinyl on it. So it's probably more. I'm assuming it's more now than it was back
right.
10 years ago when Honestly was written. And I just I have a love for that album. Like I said, I was also engaged at the time, looking forward to getting married at the end of the year, and so there was a lot happening, and it was like my favorite singer was back. But like you said, I mean, Real came out, Truth came out. He did, what was his next solo album after that? Because he did one called Hymns that came out like in '06 or '07.
Crap. I'm in my Boston hole.
See, I'm going to find out here. Michael Sweet,
Was it
solo.
10?
Nope, Him was the next one, according to what I'm looking at right now. So here we go. We'll run through them real quick. Michael Sweet in 94, Real in 95, The Truth demo in 98, Official Truth was in 2000, Restless was the label, Him was in '06, Touched was '07, I'm Not Your Suicide was 14, One Sided War was 16, which is your shirt that you're wearing, and I have that same shirt. 10 and 19. He did Reborn Again, which was a Stryper album that came out in '05. And that was his last solo, according to this.
Yeah, 10 was 2019. And I was trying to stay within just Mike's stuff and not the Sweet Lynch and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, because I mean, his first album with Sweet and Lynch was in '15. It was a
right,
year after. It was like right between I'm Not Your Suicide and One Sided War.
right.
And then you compare this. Let me just pull this up. This is just what's crazy. When people go, whatever happened to Michael Sweet? You are not watching or keeping up.
Well, no,
Because
you're not paying attention.
you're not paying attention, because let's just go. Let me just read through this. So in 11, he does the covering. 13, they do Second Coming, and they also release No More Hell to Pay. 2014, I'm Not Your Suicide. Teen, Fallen, and the first Sweet and Lynch album, Only to Rise. 2016 is One Sided War. Unified is in 2017.
17.
2018 is Goddamn Evil. 19 is his solo album, 10. 20 is Even the Devil Believes, Stryper album.
Good God.
21, he re-releases Reborn Again, but also comes out with Evil and Divine with Tracing Guns, his Sunbomb. Um, that's 21. 22, The Final Battle. 23, Heart and Sacrifice with George Lynch. Also in 23, Return to the Light with that's the Soul Driver album. And then in 24, When We Were Kings. Then you've got 25 is going to be the Christmas album. 26 is his inspirational album. And then at the end of next year, you're going to have another Stryper album. This guy is constantly putting out
That's a
new
hard working
music.
mofo right there, man.
Because
I'm
you think
very
about it, most bands might put something out every other year, maybe every 3 years.
well.
But who from the 80s is working this hard and putting out this much material?
I'll say this out loud. I mean, they've always been like they've always worked hard. We're still putting out stuff, but I'm just like he he's always been a guy where the work ethic has never been a problem. It's just like, yeah, of course I'm freaking doing this thing with this person. I mean, yeah, of course I'm working with Tracy Guns or I'm working with George Lynch or whatever. I mean, he's always doing something. And to be honest, it's been a really quality product. So I'm just like, what, Mike? Do your thing because I love Tracy Guns. It's so it's just like, but it's like you don't know where he's gonna pop up next.
No, you don't. And I mean, this is what's and I think this is just what kind of drives me a little bit crazy when people want to dog sometimes. I know we don't, but they're like, well, this album didn't have this, or this album sounded like this, or this sounded like one of your solo albums, or this sound. I just get to a point, I'm like, okay, let's look at it this way. Since the year 2000, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 albums released outside of Stryper. And then when you look at Stryper and you add in the number of albums from 2000, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So in the past 25 years, he's released 22 different things. And then you've got 3 more coming in the next year. And then if you just look at a band like Def Leppard, and I'm not trying to compare Stryper to Def Leppard, but I am in this scenario. Def Leppard since the year 2000 has released 5 albums. So if you think about it this way, 22 albums, let's say each one has 10 songs on it. That's 220 songs. Then you've got 220 new songs in the past 25 years from Michael Sweet compared to Def Leppard, who's probably giving you 50 to 65. And I didn't count, I take that back. I don't think I counted Return to Light. So if we include Return to Light, then you're talking about an extra, that's 12 albums that he's done.
Yeah, but come on, bro.
Yeah, 12 albums. 12 outside of Stryper, 11 with Stryper, 23 albums.
Yeah, but you can't try to sit here and compare Def Leppard to Stryper. Sorry. I
I'm
love
not
them as much as you
comparing them,
do, but
and I know Def Leppard was a bigger band, but what I'm just saying is that he has put out so much material, and with each one,
yes.
like we've talked about, he tries to set the bar better. I guess my point was, so when I hear people complain, like this song or this album or why you do, and they get so nitpicky about things, it's like, do you just want to not have him do anything and maybe not release an album for another 5 or 6 years, and then you'll be complaining, why aren't we getting any new stuff? So it's just like, come on, people.
Okay, yeah. From that, I totally agree because come at me with anybody that's creating more content. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's it's Stryper and it's yes, it's hair metal, whatever box you want to put it in. But I've had a really good time listening to stuff that's not Stryper, and I'm still just like, this guy's a generational vocalist and guitar player, and it hadn't hit me that way until recently. And
Let me ask you a question real quick. for somebody who may not understand that, what do you mean by generational musician?
Well, so all right, so let's run it back. So let's think about it. Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, and it is really freaking weird for me to even kind of put this in a box. But Mike is as a talent, I think I can put him in there as a generational talent. I mean, say we're thinking about, say let's think about 80 to let's think about 80 to 90. So this guy's been in our life the entire time, and the more I nitpick and the more I listen, I'm just like, I'm not sure if underrated is the word, but this guy is just, he has all the boxes checked. He sings every octave and he plays like a virtuoso, probably not the right term, but he's a freaking phenomenal guitar player. And I'm just like, I don't think he's ever going to get the respect that he deserves.
I think I agree with you in that aspect. I don't think he'll ever get the respect that he deserves because I think people will immediately write him off because of the message and because of his faith. And also too because he is the lead singer. I think people, like you just said, people forget how incredible he is on the guitar because they see him as the lead singer. They don't, unless you go see him live, you may not realize exactly how much he's actually playing guitar while he's doing this. And if you go to one of his acoustic shows or if you do something along those lines, so I think people don't miss out on that.
Yeah.
And then the front man of the band, being the singer, the guitarist, his stage presence. I think when you look at him, he's the songwriter. You look at him, he checks so many boxes in his career that people disregard it. And I think or disregard him because of him being a Christian and him singing about God. But there are people I know who like Stryper, even though because of the message, but there were so many people, both sides of the fence, the church and the non-church people who would just write him off. And then you had crazies like us who were the diehards who loved it. And I agree with you. This guy, I'm just going to say it. I know people may not agree with me on this statement. And I'm not saying this because I'm some huge diehard Michael Sweet fan, because I'll give you an example after I say this.
Let's go.
With his talent and everything that he has, he should easily be, to me, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because of what he has done for music now and the type of player he is. Now, I'm not saying that because I'm a fan. I'm saying that because I'll look at his catalog, I'll look at his musicianship, I'll look at his songwriting, I'll look at what he's done. I can say that because growing up in Atlanta, I was a very, very big Braves fan. And the biggest player from that era was Dale Murphy. And Dale Murphy, in my opinion, is good, but I question whether he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame because of his numbers.
Oh my word.
And because unfortunately, at the age of 32, he had a sudden decline going from batting 280, 290, hitting 30 plus home runs to hitting 220 on average. And so he kind of, I don't mean to dog on him, but he kind of limped out of baseball. And so I think he was he was great for a certain number of years, but then and I personally don't think Andrew Jones should be in the Hall of Fame. So I think his batting average, he's a great defensive player. He hit a lot of home runs, but I also look at how many times that you get a hit. So his batting average stinks. So I don't think those two Braves players should be in the Hall of Fame. So when I say Michael should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I'm not saying it because I'm a fan. And Daryl, you know this about me, being the big Braves fan that I am. I mean, I had my car decorated with Brave stuff in 1991 when they went to the World Series for the first time while they were in Atlanta. So I was just as crazy about them as I was about the band Stryper. But I look at it from that lens and I go, it's a shame. And I'm saying that it's a shame he doesn't get the recognition he deserves from what he does, for what he's done. Where other people say, these people should get in. And I'm like, nah, I don't think they should be in. It's not the Baseball Hall of Good or very good. It's the
Not the baseball good. That's great. It's not the baseball good. Damn, dude. Woo. Yeah. That's
see,
that's that's funny because you know how I think about baseball, but seeing you talk about Chipper Jones and those guys, I'm just like, I know in what regard you put some of those players in, and it's probably the same as how I would put certain players in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Michael Sweet is never gonna get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
yeah, and I'm not saying that because I think he will get in. I'm just saying that I think he has that level of
No,
talent, but because
I
yeah,
absolutely agree because when I was going through the all of his solo today or yesterday or whatever, his if you're able to sing in Boston, you're probably one of the most badass singers ever. So when I was listening to some of that stuff, I was just like, "You got to be joking me, man!" Yeah, what your baseball comparison was great, but yeah, I'm just it's like Michael Sweet's never going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
yeah,
unfortunately.
I know. And the thing is, and I say that very passionately because of the fact he's get this band, his musicianship, and I think we both agree on that, is just getting better and better and better every scene. Like I sit there and I think, how can they top this? And then somehow they do it. And they just keep getting better where you've got other people that are I look at some of the people and it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not the I'm like, why
God, who
is this
cares?
person in? Why
It's
is this
not the
person?
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's the Music Hall of Fame, and they don't know what they're doing anymore. So
Yeah.
whatever.
But back to my Andrew Jones thing. His lifetime batting average is 254 with an on base percentage of 337. Yes, he was an excellent outfielder. He hit 434 home runs. 51 of them came in 1 year. So take that year away. He's not at 400. He limped out of baseball, and I think you make it to the Hall of Fame when you look at your whole career, not a small segment of it. And I know you brought up Chipper Jones. I know he would disagree with me. He thinks Andrew Jones would be in. Now, would I love to see Dale Murphy get in? Absolutely.
Dale
But I'm
Murphy's
not
not
going
in
to sit
the
there.
wait. Dale Murphy's not in
No,
the Hall of Fame.
no.
I mean, I don't know jack about baseball, but that seems like an error.
And so I look at it and I go, I would love to see him be in because I was such a big fan, and it's because I'm the fan. But when I look at his stats and I compare him to other people, the majority of the people, they don't measure up overall.
Wow, that's weird, and I don't think we need to pivot to a baseball Hall of Fame.
So next week we are going to be talking about no, just kidding, the World Series.
God, we're here, right? The World Series is like this week.
Yeah, it started last night, and the Blue Jays scored 9 runs in the fifth or sixth inning and beat the Dodgers.
God, the
So
freaking
they lead.
Dodgers. You know what? Just I we have another cousin that lives in Los Angeles, and yeah, I kind of and I'm not going to curse again, but I don't care about the LA Dodgers right now.
I am one of the fans that I would rather see LA win than Toronto.
Yeah, I don't want to see the Canadians win anything. So yeah, I'm definitely down for for American teams.
Yeah. But this is not a sports or baseball podcast,
Oh
but
my
I turned it
god,
into one
not even
today.
close. Yeah.
But yeah, game one was last night, and that's the beauty about baseball. You can have one bad game and then they can come back and win four straight and be world champions.
But dude,
So
I mean, Tani's like he's just like some cyborg athlete. It's like,
three
yeah,
home runs, pitches 6 innings in the same game.
strikeouts.
It's just like,
That's that's pretty insane. And I could give a about baseball, but when you see it on Sports Center and they're like, "Oh yeah, he did all these things," and I'm like, "Dude,
I know he is a one in a lifetime type player doing it from
yeah,
the
he's
mound
yeah,
and at the plate.
no, he's a one of one." athlete. I mean, I don't know, and I can't think of another athlete that has
I'll
done.
tell you one.
Okay.
If you see the stats of him as a pitcher and as a hitter, they line up very similar to Babe Ruth during Babe Ruth's pitching and hitting career before he converted to a
Well,
hitter only.
that's what I'm talking about. He feels like one of one. We're talking about Eddie Van Halen. It's like it seems like that dude can do like freaking everything, and
Oh, I know. He can.
Babe Ruth was the last guy to be able to do that, and like so yeah, it's really interesting because there's not been an athlete in forever to be able to do that. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it has been a while. And so again, Michael Sweet, in my opinion, should be in the Music Hall of Fame. But unfortunately, because he doesn't get the recognition he deserves,
Yeah, there's
maybe we should start a campaign on Facebook and call it the Stryper or the Michael Sweet for the Music Hall of Fame and start getting people.
bro. There's no way we can.
I'll
Yeah,
start it.
we can
I'll
start it,
do it.
but my gosh, I'm just sitting here thinking about it. Is it? It's making me mad. Like sitting here trying to think about, oh, a Striper is going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. No, they're not.
But the thing is, I think you see the lasting impact that they've made on so many people across the world, and they just don't get that type of recognition. And the music, the people love the music, the way they've the number of albums Michael Sweet has put out. I'd love to see both Stryper and Michael Sweet get in because just of their catalog and the music and the way that they just go about just getting better and better every single album, as we've said 1,000 times.
But the Rock and Roll Hall, they don't know who they want in there at this point. They've the introduction and all of that stuff, and like how we nominate people, and it's God, it's so awful. It's
Yeah,
like it
it's not good.
sucks. So there's no way that somebody like Stryper or Michael Sweet will ever get in. It's just not going to happen. So and what that's cool. I can appreciate them till the day lives long, but yeah, there's no way they were ever getting into the Hall of Fame.
Well, in my Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they're in. They're
Of
easily
course,
in.
dude. I mean, yeah. I mean,
I know.
that's why we're talking about this.
And so is Barry Manilow.
January
Nope, 16th. Friday
16th.
night, January 16th. Yeah,
January 16th. All right, cool.
yeah. So we'll be able to go to that concert, come home, and then talk about the Barry Manilow concert the next morning. That'll be awesome.
Oh my gosh, because yeah, that oh my yeah, that's a Friday.
Yeah, that is a Friday. We may need to plan on recording a little bit later that morning because I'll probably get home late. But
Think. Yeah. Well, that's on you. I'll I'll
yeah,
have
that'll be on me.
I'll have Chanel bringing us home that night. So all good.
But I think the thing that we want to do as we go through, because we talked a little bit about his career, the just where he got started, because it was
Eh,
a period of time where he was transitioning. Because during this time too, it's really interesting because you wonder how he made the move from California to Massachusetts. Read that in the book because I'll give you just a synopsis of what happened. But the county that he lived in declared bankruptcy in California, which just made house, which just made the housing market in that county just plummet. So him and his wife at the time decided to let's just sell the house for what we can get. There's not much musically happening for us here right now. And that's when they moved over to Massachusetts. And so
huh.
that's when he became like in the mid to 2000s, that's when he became kind of Ranger Mike. And if you don't know what I'm referencing, Ranger Mike, please go read the book because he really gets into it during that time, what he was doing at that time. Really, to see him almost feel like this is kind of his mindset. I think my music career may be done and packed all of his music stuff up to doing what he's done since the year 2000. It's just, and how God just has just lifted him from and just taken him and just used his talents for him. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty insane because as you were talking about that part of his career is like he's working at a cranberry farm or
Yeah.
it's that it's like going from being a rock star to doing this stuff and I'm just it's like god what is that I was thinking about it and I was like what the heck does that even feel like but yeah but
I mean,
especially for a dude like that I always expect will be like kinda F he's kind of a FU guy. It's like, I'm gonna do the next thing, and it's interest that part was interesting to see.
yeah, it really was because he went through, like I said earlier, Enigma closed down, since closed down. He found himself at this like he was getting rejected at that point because some people were saying, "Oh, you're too old." He was 32 and they were telling him he was too old, that we're looking for younger people. And that's what really helped with the internet. It really helped. So when I talk about things like that, it's like, what's going on with Michael Sweet? That's what I was thinking during this time because he was so prominent in my life as a musician from 85 to 91 and then came in 94 and 95 did the or 96 and did those two albums and then it's just kind of like you don't have the internet saying hey I'm working like I read earlier on the news desk working on a new album the past few days I've been writing and writing and writing you just didn't have that information back then so the internet just really helped bring him like, hey, I'm still here. I'm still doing music. He demoed his own Truth album and sold it independently and then went to Restless Records. It closed down like the week after the album came out. And when Truth came out, this is what I'm talking about. It's like it came out and I didn't even know it had come out. I just happened to walk in the bookstore one day and there it was. I was like, he's got a new album out. Let me pick it up. We didn't have that kind of information at our fingertips back then. And you go research VH1. Where are they now? Stryper, and they did one on them, and he's talking about working at the campsites, and just it's kind of interesting, like you said, with it within the book. He's like roaming around at night, telling people to put their fires out. He's Ranger Mike, and here he was selling out arenas to doing that back to where he is today. That's just got to be a crazy journey to be on.
Yeah, when I was, like, just listening to the different records today, j and it was just him, it wasn't Stryper, it was just Mike, and I was like, "God," I was trying to get the the history and just the good lord, the stress and the trying to get my career together and all that kinda stuff, and I'm just like, "Oh my word." Because I have a little bit of creative in me, but it's like not this much. So I'm like, dude, you have like this 20-year career of being a lead guy in a pretty good metal band and then you got to go do all this other stuff and I was like looking at all this but then I kind of get in the weeds on some of his records. I was like, dang, dude, you've got some hard hit. We talked about it a couple episodes ago. I'm Not Your Suicide is Kenny Aronoff on the drums. Freaking Chris Jericho, which
Tony Harnell.
I feel like he kind of like was able to pull like some really even on one sided war. He was able to pull just like really amazing musicians. And I'm just all right. And again, it was like, all right, yeah, it's Michael Sweet. And I felt like the community was like, yeah, we can rally around this guy because he's really freaking talented. And so that was I don't know, that was kind of a cool exercise to kind of see who played on all these records. So that's what kind of where I went.
Yeah, and this week I kind of stuck with the transition from Stryper to, and I know we'll get more into his solo stuff specifically, like we've done with some of the other albums from the Stryper catalog. That we'll do that, and but I really think with him leaving Stryper and not leaving Stryper to go make a solo album, but leaving Stryper to kind of get some things
Yeah,
in
reset.
his life back, it would be my how I would kinda say it. He ended up on that first album with those chart-topping singles. I mean, the lyrics that were very heartfelt, kind of like what he went through. during that time period of Against the Law, and then just his message of faith. I felt like, okay, he's back. This is the Michael Sweet lyrically that I knew. And the album, I think, was the turning point for his solo journey. It was the launching pad of his journey beyond that. And like I said earlier, it was, hey, I'm Michael Sweet. I'm not just Stryper. And what I'm going to do outside of Stryper is not going to be, but it's not going to be a Stryper album without Robert and Tim at the time. It's going to be, this is who I am. And he just continued writing, recording throughout the past 30 years. And he was making music that was, in a sense, giving it all back to the one that made it possible for him to begin with. For me, that was kind of the thing too with 94, his jumping point going into the solo career.
Yeah, no, yes. Like I say, when I I listened to every single one of those solo records, and it was really, interesting to me, as a musician, and I'm just like, "Yep, this ain't Stryper." Did I like the first record? No, I did not. It sounded like Bon Jovi light or whatever, but everything after that got the production got better, and I looked up all the musicians on everything after that, and I was like, "Dude, you got, like you got Gary Hoekstra, you got Tim Aronoff on drums." I mean, there's some
Joel Hoekstra, not
Joel
Gary.
I'm sorry, Joel Hoekstra. Yeah, Doug Aldrich was on the one before that. Sorry, but
No, no. I didn't want our listeners to be like, who's Gary
I'm sorry, yeah,
Hoekstra?
my bad. But he was pulling some really big musicians for some of his solo stuff, so I'm just like, "Alright," but we didn't know what the heck was gonna because for me, I'm like, "Alright, cool, you're doing all this stuff," but I still, like, kinda wanna see some Stryper stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, the band has been back together since '05, basically, for the past 20 years, getting ready to do another album. I love that the band
Yeah,
Stryper's together. I love that he goes out on his own and does his own stuff. Again, really looking forward to that inspirational album that he's doing
yeah,
coming in April or May timeframe of next year. If that's still on track for that, I think, I mean, we already made this note. You and I disagree on the first album. That's okay. I like it because it's in that rock, pop, ballad type thing. It's one that I actually can listen to with my wife. It really has a lot of nostalgia for me as well, just where I was in that time period. But I've just always loved his solo stuff. And I know
I
it's getting better and harder. Just like Stryper is more harder today than they were in the 80s. You listen to a Michael Sweet album, and if you're thinking you're gonna hear what you heard, if you're thinking One Sided War or 10 is going to be 1994 or real, you're going to be sadly mistaken. But that's the thing I love about this guy, that his all of his stuff is just he is just, to me, with all the influences that he's had musically, I love it all.
yeah. No, I absolutely agree with everything you just said, and the more that I think about it, I'm gonna be pissed that he's probably never gonna be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because the more I listened the last 3 or 4 days, and I was thinking how hard this guy works. He's got it's not just Stryper, it's all the other things, and for I can't wait for the worship record, and obviously the Christmas record is gonna be fun, but he's hard working, and
Yeah,
I don't know, I don't ever expect him to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but when I listen to him and I'm just like, "Geez, man, this guy's whew, he probably deserves it, but it's probably never gonna happen, so whatever."
I know. I know. And we're just about, and it's a shame, and we're just out about time here. And Daryl, I did want to part with this. I did find something for you. And it's actually not too expensive, but I think you could wear this. You said something blue to the Barry Manilow concert.
What are you
I think
doing?
this would be perfect right here.
Oh,
So if you're not seeing this, this is what do they call this? I'm looking at it right now. It's a blue sequin casino jacket, and it's from the Liberace Museum store. So I think that would be
No, you
perfect.
did not.
I think you would be perfect to wear that. They actually have it also in red,
Only hey,
silver.
I'm only wearing that if you're buying one for yourself.
You know what?
Come
I think
on,
that
dude.
would be hilarious.
Dude,
I
it
think that that would be
absolutely would
hilarious.
be hilarious since we're taking both of our mothers. So yeah, we should both buy one.
I might get the red one. I'm always been a red guy.
Dude.
The black one doesn't stand out as much. But the gold one,
So
what just happened there?
for those who are listening, we're taking both of our mothers to see Barry Manilow.
Oh, the
Janet.
gold one is awesome, man. Look at this.
All right, bro. Let's whatever. Let's yeah. Oh, dude, that thing. Are you serious?
Yes, that is, and we should not tell our moms we're getting these. We should just show up
No, we
in
should just
them.
no, absolutely not. We should just show up.
We should just show up in them. But now that we've sidetracked on to end our episode today on these sequin jackets from the Liberace Museum, as we make plans for January 16th,
Oh my word. Did did we cover anything? I don't even know.
we did.
Okay.
We talked about baseball. We talked about Rush. We talked about
Oh, mercy.
concerts. No, but I think this is a good segue starting point as we in future episodes talk through Michael Sweet's solo stuff. I think this is a good stage to
Yeah,
set the
yeah, I
picture
think it
for
was
what
fine.
what we'll do later on.
Yeah, again, there's God bless. We're talking about Stryper, and then we're trying to talk about Michael Sweet, and it's like there's just so much material.
And you're sitting there and people wonder, how did you two, like my wife, you two talked on the phone for 2 hours? Well, this is why. We go all over the place when we're
Yes,
talking.
yes. My myself and our other cousin, we're not even talking about Stryper, but we'll be on the phone for 3 hours.
I know. I know. And
So so yeah,
it was it's
unfortunately, we're friends.
yes, but it's all good. I think we're probably at time for today. But as always, thanks for listening and hanging out with us on To Hell with the Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like us, comment. And if you do comment, I do get back. We do get back to you. If you do comment, if I see the comments come in, I will respond to you. And Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Rumble.
Mhm.
I got to get back to that one. Got to get back to downloading to Rumble. Didn't do last week. Forgot that one. And Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, like us on the social medias. And again, thank you. We appreciate you listening. Daryl, once
Yeah,
again, had
absolutely.
fun this morning.
No, dude. This will be the best part of my day. So yeah, like and subscribe, smash the button, and we will see you guys soon.
Yes, keep it loud, keep it honest, and keep the fire burning. We'll see you next week.